You won't believe what happened to me when I was taken to the hospital that night. I was lying on that cold stretcher, frightened, weak, almost helpless. And when the doctor asked for my son to sign as my guardian, do you know what he said? He looked the doctor right in the eye and said, "She's not my responsibility." I felt a pain in my chest sharper than any illness, a wound deeper than any disease. Because betrayal, my friends, can break you faster than any sickness. My name is Margaret. I am 72 years old, a mother, a grandmother, and once upon a time, the one who was always there for everyone in my family. Many of you will understand this. You give, you sacrifice, and you believe your children will be your pillars when your knees weaken and your hands tremble. I raised 3 children. My oldest, Daniel, passed away years ago in a terrible car accident. My daughter, Rose, lives far away in another country. And then there is my youngest, Andrew, my baby boy. He was the one I thought would be closest to me in my old age. But life always tests us in the places we least expect. For most of my life, Andrew was spoiled. Not by accident, oh no. I spoiled him myself. While I worked 2 jobs after my husband left us, I would save the best food for him, buy him new shoes even if mine were falling apart. When he wanted an expensive college program, I borrowed money and paid for it. I wanted him to shine. I wanted him to have what I never did. But somewhere along the way, Andrew began to see me not as his mother, but as his personal ATM machine. The first time I noticed this was after he married his wife, Linda. Oh, Linda, sharp tongue, sharper eyes. When she visited our home, she would praise my cooking while side-glancing at the jewelry in my cabinet. She never said it aloud, but her hunger for what I had was loud enough. When they bought their first house, Andrew came to me. "Mom, just this once, help us with the down payment. We'll pay you back, of course." You and I both know what "will pay you back" usually means coming from grown children. Did he ever return the money? Not a single dollar. And when I reminded him, his voice turned harsh. "Mom, why are you keeping tabs? Don't you want me to succeed?" Those words cut deeper than I could explain. It was as if my sacrifices had become debts and my motherhood had become business. But let me tell you what happened that night in the hospital. It was the night my eyes opened to everything. I had fainted in my kitchen. The neighbor called an ambulance and they rushed me to the emergency room. My heart was racing. The doctor said I needed immediate observation, and because of my age, a legal guardian had to sign certain papers. So they called Andrew. He walked into the hospital not in a hurry, not in worry, but like a man dragged against his will. His wife was with him, wearing her fur coat, scrolling her phone. The doctor asked, "Sir, are you the son? We need your signature here." And Andrew, my own flesh and blood, laughed lightly and said, "She's not my responsibility. Don't doctors handle these things? Why do you need me to sign anything? Besides, we're actually busy." Busy? Busy while I lay trembling, uncertain if my heart would beat for another hour? I stared at him, my lips quivering. "Andrew," I whispered, "please, you're my son." But he turned his face away as though my words were nothing. The doctor frowned deeply. "Sir, without a guardian's signature we cannot proceed with certain treatments." Linda, that daughter-in-law of mine, laughed cruelly and said, "Maybe check with her daughter overseas. We really don't want to get involved in these things." These things. They spoke of my life as though it was a chore, a burden, a duty they wanted to escape. Do you know what it feels like, lying in a bed powerless and watching the child you nursed with your own milk call you too much trouble? Friends, if you've ever buried your grief inside while smiling outside for family, you know my silence in that moment. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but I said nothing. And then, like destiny itself stepped forward in that room, the doctor cleared his throat and said something that froze every person there. "Actually," the doctor said, "before you refuse, you should know something. There are some details in her medical file and in the insurance records that concern you." Andrew shifted uneasily. "What do you mean?" The doctor looked directly at him, then back at me. "Your mother has something you should be aware of. Something that, if you abandon her now, you may regret for the rest of your life." My son frowned. His wife stopped scrolling her phone. The air in the room turned heavy. I knew exactly what the doctor was about to reveal. Because months before I had made a decision, a powerful, liberating decision. Ever since feeling that my children only visited me for money, I had gone to a lawyer. I had drafted my will. And in that will, I had made arrangements so clear, so firm, that no greedy hand could twist them when I left this world. But no one, Not even Andrew knew the whole truth yet. Lying there in that hospital bed, I saw Andrew's arrogant shoulders slowly slump. For the first time in years, he looked uncertain, nervous, frightened even. The doctor tapped the file again. You might want to rethink your words about responsibility, young man. Because the truth about your mother may shock you. And that, my dear friends, was the moment everything began to change. I will tell you exactly what the doctor revealed. The words that shook my son's pride and made my daughter-in-law fall silent. But before I share the second half of this story, I want you to think about something. If you were lying in that hospital bed and your own child refused to sign for you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. Share your story, because many of us mothers, grandmothers, aunties, we have lived these silent betrayals. Thank you for listening to this part of my story. Stay with me for the next chapter, when justice unfolds, when truth is spoken, and when I finally reclaim the dignity I almost lost in that hospital room. The doctor looked at Andrew, then turned his gaze to me as if silently asking permission. I gave the faintest nod. He opened the file and spoke slowly. Your mother has listed you, Andrew, and she's listed her other children too, in her legal documents. But she has also established something very unusual. She has full control of significant assets, insurance, and estate provisions. These legally require a next-of-kin decision in emergencies. If you refuse responsibility now, Andrew, you may also refuse every right connected to her estate later on. The room turned silent. You could hear the beeping of the heart monitor like a drum announcing judgment. Andrew's face changed color. His wife, Linda, pressed his arm. What do you mean estate? The doctor closed the file calmly. I mean exactly that. Your mother is not a poor burden as you seem to think. She has substantial arrangements. And if you walk away now, there are legal consequences. Because her will, her guardian choice, and her assets are tied together in ways you clearly never cared to ask about. Andrew's shoulders stiffened. He swallowed hard, suddenly interested in the papers he had dismissed seconds before. Wait, he said. I didn't mean. I just thought, well, you should have told me, Mom. Told him. My dear friends, if he needed money, he remembered me instantly. If he needed a babysitter for his children, I was important then. But to stand by my hospital bed as my guardian? That was too much trouble, until he heard the word assets. Linda's voice grew sharp. Andrew, sign the paper, she hissed. Don't be stupid. Sign it now. I felt something stir inside me in that moment. Something I had buried for years beneath guilt, love, and fear. My dignity. My self-respect. I lifted my frail hand and whispered, No, Andrew. Don't sign. He froze. What? Mom, you heard the doctor. I cut him off, my voice suddenly stronger than the machines around me. For years I gave you everything. When I had one meal, I split it so your stomach would never be empty. When my feet bled from working double shifts, it was so your shoes could shine. When I borrowed money and carried debt, it was so you could walk proudly. And tonight you told a stranger that I am not your responsibility. Tears burned in my eyes, but my spirit was clear. Well, Andrew, I am finally listening. You will not sign because indeed, I am not your responsibility. I will make sure of it. You see, months before I had gone to a lawyer. After Andrew's repeated demands for money, after hearing my daughter-in-law's mocking words about just waiting for the old house to be hers, I knew I needed protection. So I revised my will. I placed my home, my savings, even my insurance into a trust fund managed by professionals, with strict instructions. Only the child who proved true responsibility, who stood by me in real need, would have legal access to inheritance. And if they all failed me, the estate would go to charity foundations supporting elderly women and shelters. Mothers like me, forgotten, discarded, yet still deserving of love. The lawyer had applauded my decision. He said, Mrs. Margaret, this is not revenge. This is justice. This is wisdom. And in that hospital room, those words came back to me. The doctor nodded respectfully toward me. Mrs. Margaret, you still have the right to appoint a guardian of choice. Since your son refuses, do you have another? A deep calm filled my heart. Yes. I choose my daughter, Rose, I declared. Even from across the ocean, she has never failed to call me every day. She prays for me. She remembers my birthdays, my tears, my little joys. She deserves that responsibility. Andrew's face turned red. That's ridiculous. I'm right here and you choose her. I looked at him with steady eyes that no longer trembled. Yes. Because family is not measured by proximity but by loyalty. Blood makes us related, Andrew, but respect makes us family. Linda muttered under her breath, "This is nonsense." But even she knew the tide had turned. The doctor made his notes and confirmed, "Your choice is legally binding, Mrs. Margaret." When Andrew and Linda walked out of the hospital room, I heard her scolding him in the hallway. "How could you be so stupid? We could have lost everything." But what she never understood was that greed blinds people. They thought of me only as a wallet, never as a human being. And in their blindness they revealed the truth of their hearts, for all to see. Later, when the news of that hospital scene spread among relatives, I received phone calls. Cousins said, "Margaret, we always knew Andrew was selfish, but this is another level." Neighbors whispered, "You deserved so much better." Shame followed Andrew where respect could have been. I stayed in the hospital for a few more days. My daughter Rose called constantly, her warm voice wrapping me with love I could not touch in person but could feel in my bones. That was worth more than 1,000 signatures. When I was discharged, I went back to my home with a mind full of new strength. I began to do things I had forgotten elders could do. I joined a community book club, attended gentle yoga classes for seniors, and even pampered myself at a salon for the first time in years. One day, as the hairdresser massaged my head, I thought, I spent 72 years giving to others. Now perhaps I may give something to myself. And it was then, my friends, that I realized, I had not lost a son that night. I had lost an illusion. An illusion that a child's birth guarantees a child's loyalty. But illusions are best buried while truths give us life. What did I learn? That respect is not inherited, it is earned. That being a parent does not mean accepting every insult, every exploitation in the name of love. Love should defend your dignity, not destroy it. And in the end I found peace. Not because I punished Andrew but because I chose myself. I chose honesty. I chose freedom. So, beloved friends listening to me now, tell me, what would you have done in my place? If your child refused to stand for you in the hospital, would you still leave them your home, your savings, the fruit of your life's labor? Or would you, like me, decide that dignity must come first? Share your thoughts in the comments. Remember, your voice matters, not only to comfort me but to comfort each other. We mothers, we grandmothers, we aunts, we are not alone. Thank you for listening, thank you for walking with me to the end of this story. If my story touched your heart, subscribe so we can walk together through more journeys of truth, betrayal, and justice. And always remember, you are never just a burden. You are a blessing and you deserve love, respect, and peace.